All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The Malzberg panel, columnist at Breitbart.com and American thinker C. Edmund Wright, and president of the Galen Institute, Grace Marie Turner. And before we get to you guys, I want you to hear from President Obama, something he said yesterday, and I'm sure he's going to be saying it a lot more. Let's all watch. All right, maybe the president doesn't want to talk to us. Mr. President, we love hearing what you...
And they criticized me for this. Boehner sued me for this. And I told him I'd rather do things with you, pass some laws. Make sure the Highway Trust Fund is funded so we don't lay off hundreds of thousands of workers. It's not that hard. Middle-class families can't wait for Republicans in Congress to do stuff. So sue me. As long as they're doing nothing, I'm not going to apologize for trying to do something.
Here is a man who is viewed, Edmund and Grace Marie, here's a man who's viewed by the American public as the worst president since World War II, and he doesn't get it, or he gets it and he doesn't care, and he goes out there and he's in your face. He doesn't stop. He's pushing this line that he will act no matter, because the evil Congress won't. And Grace Marie, is he going to stop?
Isn't this unbelievable, Steve? I mean, he's really, that is so arrogant. It is so unpresidential. It is like a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. He is not working with the Congress. Of course, you're not going to hear that from him. But the House has been passing bill after bill after bill, hits a stone wall when it goes over to the Senate because Harry Reid will not bring it to the floor. And of course, nothing reaches his desk, but it's not the House's fault. It's the fact that Harry Reid is blocking everything in the Senate, and the president should basically throw this kind of a temper tantrum. So sue me after losing, by the way, before the Supreme Court 13 times is unbelievably arrogant.
Yeah, Edmund, I mean, he just shows, most people, Bill Clinton would never have let it get to this point, but Bill Clinton would have long ago, acquiesced. He would have found middle ground. He would have calmed down. He would have seen the writing on the wall. This guy just gets hardened the more he loses, the more unpopular he gets.
No, Steve, you're absolutely right. By the way, Grace Marie is absolutely correct in saying that this is a 3-year-old tantrum. It's very, very unpresidential, to say the least. But what Clinton did after the 94 midterms, which was very similar to the 2010 midterms, is Clinton then governed basically with Newt Gingrich. And I guess you could say he actually passed the Newt Gingrich agenda, which was the contract with America. And guess what? It worked. Obama's done the opposite. He's doubled down on his, far left agenda. Nothing's working. Everything's a disaster. And the American people, bless their hearts, finally waking up with that poll, the worst president since World War II. He clearly is. I'm surprised this many people realize it.
Yeah, well, sooner or later they were going to start realizing it. And his approval poll and poll numbers, trustworthiness, policies, do you like them? Those numbers have been tanking for a long, long time. And now, to have Ronald Reagan at the top, where he belongs, and Barack Obama at the bottom, it does give you hope, Grace Marie, doesn't it?
It does, and I was particularly interested in the issue by issue poll of the Quinnipiac survey, because it showed
that's easy for you to say, by the way, yeah.
Particularly on the economy. I mean, what do we think about Ronald Reagan? He was very bold with foreign policy, but he also really revitalized the American economy. He understood what was wrong with the economy, how we needed to get out of the Carter doldrums of hyperinflation and high joblessness. And Reagan pulled us out of that because of his economic policies. And remember when the president met with House Republicans soon after he was elected, after his first election, he basically said, I don't agree with you on your economic policies. Well, guess what? The American people agree with Reagan, not the president. And that's really the fundamental reason our economy cannot get going. And the American people, I think, are responding to that in this poll, because the economy is not recovering, and it's not recovering because of the president's flawed policies.
Yeah, Edmund, let me just take this a little left of the outfield here and go off the beaten path. And Hillary Clinton recently said, hey, if you want to know how an economy should be run, Obama's trying, but hey, my husband, and again, I think she's going to have trouble running on her husband's record. I mean, not that it wasn't good in some respects, but, she's got to run on her own. But my husband, and then she said, compare it to Ronald Reagan. And I sat there shocked because I'd love to compare it to Ronald Reagan with what Reagan started with coming out of the Carter years and the internet boom that Clinton was the beneficiary of. But I found that very interesting that Hillary said, look at the Clinton economy compared to Reagan as the way that she might govern.
Well, it's interesting. Barack Obama chose Bill Clinton to speak in Charlotte at the Democrat National Convention precisely because Clinton had governed over a successful economy. And you're right, the high-tech bubble was part of it. But again, what Clinton had done was he was a more conservative president for 2 or 3 of his years of his second term than George W. Bush ever was. So the Clintonomics that ended up working were really Newtonomics. They were conservative principles, as was the case with Reagan, and that's clearly not what we have with Obama, nor what we'll get with Hillary.
But Steve, I think it's also really important to recognize that when Bill Clinton was first elected, he was a tax and spend president. He was traditional liberal, and in 1992, then in 1994, when the Gingrich Congress came in and when Republicans took control of the Congress, is when Clinton had to then begin to work with Congress and to compromise. They did welfare reform, and a lot of very positive things happened. But it also, you cannot divorce the Clinton years from the fact that there was a Republican Congress that he had to work with and did work with in really getting the economy going.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is a president who Democrats and Republicans alike will tell you has virtually no relationship with anybody in Congress on either side of the aisle and has no interest in forging those relationships. All right, stay where you are, folks. We're coming back. See Edmund Wright and Grace Marie Turner. The Malzberg panel will be back, and I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the medical crisis. I want to talk about a congressman being told you can't see the kids in the camps. I want to talk about people being told don't talk about these sick children or you'll lose your job. When we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax Television.